It is 3 a.m. I just watched Kevin McCurry's ADHD video, and it inspired me to share some things with you. I have ADHD. Oh, another kid on the internet pretending he has ADHD. No, I went to a clinic every month. They put those little sensors all over my head and then have me fall asleep on a test bed and monitor my brain activity while I slept. So I was legit. Basically, the way it works for me is that my brain goes at everything a million miles a second, and about 7% of that is translated into physical movement. So I almost always have nervous leg, or I'm maybe kind of twiddling my thumbs, just kind of moving. And the way I experienced it was a kind of stress. Quick revision I just came up with 2 hours later while laying here in bed. It's not as much a feeling of stress as it is just you gotta. And I relieved that stress by moving. And looking back, I was incredibly hyper and annoying. I was one of those kids. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Fast forward until now. For a long time, I thought that I had outgrown ADHD because that urge to physically move isn't as strong as it used to be. I've learned to control it. But what I've learned is I've exchanged physically moving for focus, aka I have razor sharp focus, which sounds like it'd be a good thing, but it has some major downsides. If you imagine an entire idea as like this bubble this big, the average person's attention to that is about this big, whereas mine is this big. I get so incredibly narrowly focused. I can only concentrate on doing one thing at a time. But the problem occurs when I am focusing on thing number 1, and then that leads me on to number 2, which means once I start focusing on number 2, number 1 is gone from my mind. It literally is the same as it not existing on the planet. And this used to get me really upset when like my parents would say, why didn't you remember? When I'm not focusing on something, it does not exist, according to my brain. And trying to make my brain think of something that it's not focused on is like trying to imagine a new color. You cannot do it because it is something totally outside of what you are, of what you know. And this can be a real problem, especially with communication. Because I am alone for a large percentage of the week, I'm used to doing everything myself. I'm used to being alone with my thoughts. I'm used to having an idea for, say, how a video should look and being able to arrange everything to get that precise look. But the problem is, when I'm doing something with someone else, I have this image in my head, but I cannot concentrate on the image and communicating with you on how to achieve said look. And I really do not like that this happens, and I want to change it. I honestly do not know how though. So say I'm doing a video with someone and they ask me like, oh, what should I do? My brain is so focused on getting this look that I have in my head that the part that it dedicates to speaking is like 3%. So I literally just say stuff like, be over there and do the thing, it really messes with my communication. And that's a real problem. And it's going to be a really big problem later on in my life, and I know that. I don't know what to do about it though. Because if you don't have what I have, this is completely unrelatable. I probably sound like I'm just a whiny kid. But I am dealing with these things constantly because you can't even talk to people. When I can talk to people, but that means completely abandoning anything else that I'm doing. Focusing 100% of my concentration on the conversation and completely abandoning anything about said video we were shooting. Forget the lighting, forget the microphone placement, forget the camera, forget the idea for the video. Focus solely on the words that he or she is saying so that I can respond appropriately. That is why when I'm talking to you in real life, I don't seem to have that big of a problem. But you can tell when I start to think about something else because my communication skills go way down and I start to mess up very common phrases and I get words confused. It's kind of like dyslexia but with entire words, because honestly my brain is not focusing on what we're talking about. It's planning out a new project way here in the back, and 90% of my brain's resources are working on that one thing, which means I left 10% of my brain to focus on talking with you. Of course, that's not really what happens, but that's a metaphor for what this feels like. And another thing about living with ADHD is that it has caused me to be very creative. I've been creative my entire life. I've been making videos pretty much my entire life. I have very fond memories of filming videos with my best friend Zach growing up, and if you're watching this, you know exactly the one I'm talking about. Tripping down the stairs and hiding underneath the piano pretending that was a cave. This is a very personal video. I'm being incredibly vulnerable with you right now. This is 3 a.m. talk, because creating stuff relieves this stress that I'm constantly feeling. And I get this tension out through movement or through creating stuff. And that is why non-creative stuff is very, very difficult for me. About 30 minutes ago, I was storyboarding this video I'm doing for this company. Look at my workspace, and that is how it is right now in that room. If I were to zoom out and show you my room, you would be horrified. It's a mess because I cannot focus on cleaning it up because my brain is coming up with so many different ways to be creative. And cleaning is incredibly unnatural for me, and especially math. Now, I'm not whining and complaining about math. I am saying that it literally goes against my grain. As another metaphor, I physically feel tension when I see a math problem. And trying to learn new concepts in math is so unnatural. It's like they're speaking a language and my job is to be completely fluent in the language with no prior experience. Now that's a bad example, you say. You do have prior experience. Yes, okay, it's a metaphor in that I basically hear these syllables and I know what they mean. I can't describe it though. I feel this tension. They rub against my... It doesn't... It's kind of like the feeling, as Kevin said, of needing glasses but not having any. Where, yeah, you can do it, but you have to strain. It is almost a physical pain that I feel. Oh my gosh, I'm sweating. So basically what I'm saying was, I'm struggling with the way I was created. And that, I think, is one of the reasons why I love creating videos, is because I do have a way to communicate with people that allows me to make as many mistakes as I want. You have no idea how many takes it took me to get that sentence right. It allows me to hide behind this wall of I'm normal, kind of. And that was just something I really needed to get off my chest. I just kind of dumped all this information on you. This was hard to do, but I wanted to say this stuff so that if you are currently struggling with the same things I am right now, frankly, it's not going to get better. At least not insofar as I have learned. But you can take these things that are currently a weaknessy thing and turn them into your strength. Basically, what I guess I'm trying to say is that this has allowed me to discover what I truly love to do. And this makes it a lot easier for you to discover what you truly love to do. And if you can't relate to this, please take it easy on us ADHD people. We are honestly, genuinely trying as hard as we can. Whereas you get exhausted by trying to do too much, we get exhausted by doing too little. So basically, imagine you trying to spend a month living the life that we do, and you can imagine how exhausting that'd be. Well, that is what we are having to do to fit in to the way that society is built for you, especially like the public school system. I am very grateful that I went to a private school and I was homeschooled. I am so grateful I had, for most of my childhood, an amazing teacher, Mrs. Tozier. I guess I can say her name. I just said it. She genuinely valued me, and she gave me special privileges because of my ADHD. For example, I have a really hard time writing things down. A really hard time. I never take notes. And so what she would allow me to do is, while all the other students would be writing their essays, I would wait until I got home, and then my mom would take our little point and shoot camera and video me saying my essay. And then we would email that to her, and she would accept that. That would be my work. She also very frequently let me get up and just walk in circles around the class. Mrs. Tozier, you are amazing. So if you're struggling with ADHD, sorry, you don't outgrow it, but you can have it become your strength. I know it seems like I'm wearing the shirt a lot. It's literally just a coincidence. And I like this shirt. It's stretchy.